Hi, Martin Harvey here from Chiropractic, and today's video is all about sleep, why you need to get more of it, and why it's important for both your health and also how easy it is for you to get the things that you need to get done. So timing of this video, I've decided to do this video partly because I think sleep is super important, but also because this Saturday is when we go to daylight savings. And daylight savings is kind of like this mini experiment that we have each year. We'll get like a tiny little bit of sleep deprivation and all feel mildly excited that it's a step closer to summer. But it's interesting how many people are coming into the practice each year in this sort of period of time afterwards, just not feeling as well as they normally will, just because they've missed out on 1 hour of sleep. So what I want to do is share with you a little bit of information about why health is super important, and then I want to share with you a couple of really simple things you can do to help yourself sleep better, and in the context of transitioning to daylight savings, what you can do to kind of get past that little hiccup as quickly as possible. So when we're talking about sleep and impacts on health, there's lots of things that it affects. It affects your risk of obesity, your risk of diabetes, etc., etc. But one of the key things that I wanted to highlight was the impact of not enough sleep on cardiovascular health, your heart health, because the leading cause of death in Australia is cardiovascular issues, and also one of the leading causes of disability in Australia, stroke, is also you're at increased risk of that if you have sleep deprivation. So interesting research in this area shows that you increase your risk of having cardiovascular disease by about 45% if you're not getting enough sleep, and if you already have cardiovascular disease, increase the chance of dying from it by about 45% if you're not getting enough sleep. So it's kind of important. Now, how does it work? What's the link between not enough sleep and this impact on cardiovascular health? It's probably a bunch of mechanisms, but what the research that I've read suggests is a lot of it is because it increases your blood pressure. Even one night of not enough sleep, you can have a measurable impact in terms of increasing your blood pressure. So it's not a tiny thing, it's a really important thing. So the information that I'm sharing with you is mainly from a really cool book by a neuroscientist called Matthew Walker. It's kind of a world leader in the area of sleep and health. Another thing that, and this is often one of the things that people notice, is that they just kind of feel a bit foggy and a bit out of it when they haven't slept as much as they should. And the science in this area is really, really interesting. You see, if you haven't slept enough, it impacts your concentration, and that not only means that it's harder to get the work that you want done, it's harder for you to be as present for your family and friends, it's harder for you to do everything, but it'll measurably increase the chance of you having a car accident. So there was some research done in Australia where they sort of tried to quantify it, and what they did was looked at how well subjects in these studies did on a standardized concentration test. And the findings were really amazing, where having the subjects be up for 19 hours, which isn't a huge amount, like it's not missing a complete night's sleep, but just staying up a little bit later than you normally would, meant that those subjects performed as badly on concentration tests as people who were over 0.05 blood alcohol level. So not having enough sleep dulls down your brain to the level that you're functioning almost as if you're a little bit drunk. Now, what can you do to sleep better? If you're one of those people who has trouble sleeping, or you just want to optimize your health and sleep better, there's a couple of really simple things that you can do to help yourself sleep better. It feels bad to say this because I'm such a coffee fan, but avoiding caffeine late in the day is an obvious but really important one. And when Matthew Walker's talking about this in his book, he talks about the half-life of caffeine, which means how long does it take for the amount of caffeine in your bloodstream to reduce by half, and it's about 12 hours. So what it means then is if you're wanting to go to bed at 10 and you had a coffee at 10, you still have a significant portion of the caffeine in your blood. So making sure that if you are a coffee lover like I am, that you're biasing that towards earlier in the day is going to help you sleep better later at night. Interestingly, a lot of people will say that they sleep better if they have a glass or two of alcohol, but the science says there's a pretty fine balance there. Yes, a glass or maybe 2 glasses can help people relax and be in a better state to sleep, but it often reduces your ability to go into the deeper levels of sleep, which are the ones that we need to really rest and repair and wake up rejuvenated, and puts you into a shallower state of sleep. And often if we're having more than a couple of drinks, there's a mechanism which will often wake you up once your liver has finished dealing with all the alcohol. So you'll often have that thing of having had a few drinks and then waking up at 3 in the morning and finding it very, very difficult to sleep. So minimizing alcohol is also a really important thing. And so looking forward to this Saturday when we lose an hour of sleep, probably a good night to go easy in terms of how many drinks you had. Exercise is a really powerful lever in terms of impacting our sleep. Exercising earlier in the day tends to create a biorhythm where we're much more relaxed and ready and drowsy for sleep later in the day. For a lot of people, particularly people who are in that night owl sort of group, exercising late in the day can often act as a stimulant, make it much harder to get to sleep. A couple of things that you can do in your environment to help you sleep better. One is having a hot bath later in the day, because the heat and then the drop in temperature when you get out of the bath, that drop in temperature will make it much easier and sort of allow you to become dozy. We're very strongly triggered by cool temperatures that will tend to stimulate an appropriate melatonin response, which is kind of the sleep hormone. Related to that, having a cool room. They talk about wanting a room that's under 20 degrees, ideally about 17, 18 degrees Celsius is sort of the sweet spot for most people to sleep better. And the last thing that I want to share with you is the importance in terms of melatonin of getting sunlight into your eyes earlier in the day. So getting outside, getting natural sunlight. Our melatonin production is stimulated by sunlight coming into our eyes and then stimulating our pituitary to make melatonin, and that production earlier in the day is what helps us feel sleepy later in the day. It sort of sets that biorhythm. But it's strongly stimulated by light that's coming at that low angle that is present earlier in the day. So getting outside without sunglasses early in the day, particularly for a walk, can be a really powerful way of setting your biorhythm so you're better able to sleep later on in the day. So this is Martin Harvey from Align Chiropractic with a few tips to help you sleep better and get over the hump of the daylight savings.